Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi action movie called The Island. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens as two people, a male and a female, enjoy their day on a futuristic-looking yacht. Everything here is perfect. The weather is bright, the water is blue, and the duo is in love with each other. The man then approaches his lover, and just as they're about to hold hands, something strange happens. Three disfigured-looking men pop out of nowhere and drag the man into the sea. He struggles to go back to his lover, but to no avail. Suddenly, the man wakes up, and we learn that his name is Lincoln 6 Echo. He looks around, still out of breath, and finally realizes that he was having a nightmare. An overhead LED screen displays a good morning message before pointing out that he had erratic sleep. Lincoln comes out of his bed, and another LED screen on his wall asks him to report to the Tranquility Center for a wellness evaluation. As a disgruntled Lincoln pees in the bathroom, the system recognizes that his urine has excessive amounts of sodium. It immediately recommends nutrition control, much to his displeasure.
Your pee is looking weirder than normal, and your penis is smaller than normal.
The impressive display of technology continues as Lincoln's bracelet automatically opens a drawer filled with his clothes. Each and every fabric in the drawer is exactly the same, white with a few black stripes. When Lincoln steps out of his room, we see plenty of other people who are wearing the same type of clothes. This is the compound, and everyone seems to be headed to the Tranquility Center for their regular morning checkups. Lincoln and a few of his friends stroll together through a long corridor and enter a lift. As they head downwards, the screens in the lift show snapshots of a beautiful, tranquil island among sparkling blue ocean. The residents are told that the outside world has become too contaminated to support life, with the exception of this pathogen-free island. Each week, one resident gets to leave the compound and live on the island by way of a lottery. Just then, this week's lottery winner is announced, a big, muscular man named Starkweather 2 Delta. The announcement is followed by a video of the winner, in which he joyfully speaks about how it was always his dream to go to the island. Yeah, no shit. That's everyone's dream. Shortly afterwards, the lift reaches its destination, and Lincoln walks through the Tranquility Center. We also get a brief look into the lives of the people in the compound. Men and women are engaged in various physical activities, like yoga, fitness exercises, and swimming. Everyone seems content, but several supervisors, all dressed in black tracksuits, keep a close watch. The citizens of the compound, all of whom are in white tracksuits, are treated well, but it is obvious that their lives are strictly regulated. Later in the cafeteria, Lincoln swipes his bracelet and asks for extra bacon in his breakfast, but the server gives him a selection of boring, healthy food, citing his recent health evaluation. Meanwhile, Lincoln's best friend, a beautiful woman named Jordan 2 Delta, has been watching him argue with the server. She approaches him and tells him to learn how to finesse the system. She then heads to the breakfast counter and compliments the server's looks, and even asks how everything is going. Flattered by the sweet talk, the server allows Jordan to take 5 pieces of bacon. "You're so hot. Here's some meat." Lincoln is thoroughly impressed by her social skills, and the two friends talk for a while. A guard soon approaches and alerts them that they are engaging in far too much physical proximity. Jordan thus decides to part ways, but not before she slides the bacon onto Lincoln's plate. Sometime later, Lincoln arrives at the office of Dr. Merrick, the chief of operations at the compound. The doctor knows that Lincoln has been displaying erratic sleep behavior and takes the latter to a lab. Merrick then places some small beaded devices on Lincoln's cheek that crawl into his eye. He assures the patient that these microsensors will upload data for 24 hours and then pass out through his urine. A few minutes later, Lincoln arrives at the work center where everyone is assigned to a specific job. He and a fellow citizen named Jones 3 Echo are tasked with infusing vital nutrients into long tubes that run out of the lab. They do not realize that these tubes go straight into the basement of the compound, where several pouch-like structures are kept. These pouches contain human bodies in various stages of development. Lincoln complains about the mundane job, while Jones finds it incredibly satisfying, for Jones is a simple dumbass, you see. The peace in the work center is suddenly broken as a female citizen, Lima 1 Alpha, collapses. It turns out that she is heavily pregnant and appears to be going into labor. The other women near her are ecstatic, as she is now guaranteed a place on the island with her baby. After Lima is transferred to a medical sector, the guards tell everyone to return to work. Lincoln resumes his infusion task when suddenly his computer screen goes off. A nearby guard then gives him a key and asks him to go down to Sector 5, where the technicians work. Lincoln happily agrees to do so, as it gives him a break from this boring, repetitive job. Following this, Lincoln visits Sector 5, a power plant that is placed a story below the work center. He then takes this opportunity to visit his friend, senior technician James McCourt. The duo chat for a while, but McCourt is soon called to inspect an electrical failure. Lincoln is also about to return back to his job when suddenly he sees a moth hovering around a nearby ventilation shaft. He grabs McCourt's matchbox and immediately captures the bug inside of it. In the evening, the citizens gather in the social center for the announcement of the latest round of lottery. The spin begins, and soon, Jordan's name and photo is shown in the hologram as the winner. Although she seems to be ecstatic, Lincoln is clearly clearly unhappy at the thought of parting with his best friend. She'll never give me her meat again. That night, Lincoln blankly stares at the moth that he has now kept in a glass bottle on the bedside desk. The sight of the insect flying inside the bottle gives him an idea. Seconds later, Lincoln sneaks out of his room, heads to the underground Sector 5 where he releases the insect. It flies away, searching for a source of light, and Lincoln follows it closely. He soon ends up underneath the hallway of the medical sector. Lincoln comes out and sneaks into a nearby utility closet, which has a number of blue medical lab coats. He puts on one of these, effectively hiding his white resident dress. As he navigates his way through the medical center, he stops to peek through the window of an operating room and comes across a horrifying sight. Lincoln finds Starkweather 2 Delta lying on an operating table in the surgery room. A team of surgeons are about to make an incision through his chest when suddenly Starkweather 2 Delta wakes up. He runs out to the corridor, but is followed by several guards who have taser guns. Hiding behind a nearby cabinet, Lincoln watches on as the guards tase Starkweather and drag him back to the surgery room. He finally realizes that the whole concept of Paradise Island is simply a dark, twisted lie. In the meantime, the news of this disturbance reaches Dr. Merrick, who goes to the security room to check what's happening. He reviews the CCTV footage from the medical sector and, to his horror, notices a disguised Lincoln in it. Merrick then rings the alarm bells and orders the guards to capture Lincoln ASAP. On the other hand, Lincoln heads towards the female compound and finds Jordan. He tells her everything that he just saw and tries to make her understand that there is no Paradise Island. Jordan is confused by the sudden revelation, but Lincoln drags her away from her room. A full-on chase then ensues as several guards try to stop the duo from getting away. Fortunately, Lincoln manages to take Jordan into Sector 5, and they eventually emerge into the outside world. As the camera pans outwards, we see that the world is not actually contaminated. The compound is simply an underground lab, somewhere underneath a desert in Missouri. The terrain is rocky, and everything looks barren, but the duo can breathe just fine. Back in the compound, the community announcer delivers fabricated news that Lincoln has been quarantined, while Jordan has been safely transported to the island. Elsewhere, we get to see the truth about this compound, as Dr. Merrick makes a sales presentation to a host of rich people. It is revealed that this place is a bioengineering facility where agnates are grown. An agnate is a clone of a regular person, grown directly into adulthood, matching the biological age of the donor. Its DNA is completely identical to the client, who has paid for the clone. Furthermore, an agnate is meant as a source of replacement body parts for an ailing client. Female agnates can also serve as surrogate wombs for their clients, who cannot carry a baby themselves. But male agnates cannot get pregnant. That privilege is still reserved for Arnie. Yeah! However, Dr. Merrick falsely claims that the agnates are kept in a vegetative state. He tells his clients that these clones never achieve consciousness and are not human beings. After the presentation, Dr. Merrick hires a Navy SEAL turned mercenary, Albert Laurent, to capture the fugitives. He explains that the world doesn't know that the agnate projects are alive. If this information becomes public, the Institute will be shut down for ethical violations. Dr. Merrick explains that locating Jordan 2 Delta is particularly paramount. Turns out her sponsor, the person she was cloned from, is famous actress Sarah Jordan. She is currently in a comatose state following a horrendous car accident. Sarah will die if she doesn't receive multiple organ transplants within the next 3 days. This also explains the lottery. An agnate wins when their sponsor requires body parts harvested. Elsewhere, Lincoln finds the matchbox in his pocket that had been taken from his friend, McCourt, the technician. There is an address written on it, and the two fugitives manage to track down the location to a local bar. With a little bit of luck, they find McCourt, who is busy relieving himself in the bar's bathroom. The technician is horrified to see them in the outside world, but takes them home anyway. There, he explains to them about their existence, how they are human clones meant to serve as sources of body parts for the people they are cloned from. The memories they have of their respective childhoods, families, and lives before the contamination are fabricated memory imprints. McCourt also explains that their names, Lincoln and Jordan, are the surnames of their sponsors. Echo means that Lincoln had been alive for 3 years, while Jordan is 4. The 2 in Jordan's name is a regional code for New York, where Sarah Jordan lives. 6 is a regional code for Los Angeles, where Lincoln's sponsor, Tom Lincoln, lives. Following this revelation, Lincoln and Jordan decide that they must locate their sponsors and spread the truth of their existence. McCourt, who has always felt guilty about his involvement with the compound, assists them with maps, credit cards, and cash. The trio then heads to a nearby train station, from where they plan to travel to Los Angeles. Meanwhile, Laurent and his team locate Lincoln and Jordan through the microsensors inside their bodies. The men arrive at the station and kill McCourt, but the other 2 manage to board the train to Los Angeles. A few hours later, they arrive at their destination, and after some searching, finally make their way way to Tom's apartment. Since Lincoln is Tom's exact clone, they easily bypass all the security measures and enter inside. They are looking around the luxurious apartment when suddenly, Tom sneaks behind them with a golf club. He is about to punt Lincoln's head off, but stops when he sees the clone's face. Following this, the two tell Tom everything about the compound and how the Agnates are actually real living beings. It is also revealed that Tom is suffering from liver damage, which is why he paid $5 million to have his clone made. Nonetheless, he promises to take them to a news channel and broadcast their truth for the world to see. He tells them to wait in the living room while he goes to get his stuff from the upstairs bedroom. Unbeknownst to the Agnates, Tom calls the compound and tells everything to the receptionist. However, when it is time to leave, Lincoln insists that Jordan should stay behind for safety reasons. The two men then head outside, and barely a few miles away, they are ambushed by Laurent's mercenaries. Lincoln, who realizes that Tom has betrayed them, reverses the car, and a violent chase ensues. They eventually crash in an abandoned cathedral, where Lincoln comes up with a cunning deception. They are cornered by Laurent's men, but Lincoln imitates Tom's mannerisms and Scottish accent perfectly. How? When everyone is distracted, he slips his bracelet onto Tom's wrist, effectively convincing the mercenary that he is the real human. Laurent then immediately shoots the real Tom, killing him on the spot. Following this, Lincoln returns to Tom's apartment where he and Jordan hatch a plan. They want to expose the compound and free all the Agnates that are unaware of the reality like sheep in a slaughterhouse. Back in the compound, Merrick realizes that a cloning defect was responsible for Lincoln getting his donor's real memories and behavioral patterns. Oh, that's how. He thus decides to eliminate the 4 latest generations of clones to prevent any future problems. The following day, Lincoln returns to the compound, posing as Tom, and easily gains inside access. He wants to destroy the holographic projectors that conceal the outside world from the citizens of the compound. Jordan, on the other hand, allows herself to be caught to assist his plan. In the meantime, Laurent learns that Sarah Jordan may not survive, even with the organ transplants. He has a chat with Merrick and realizes that the doctor considers himself as a god who is capable of creating as well as destroying lives. The mercenary now begins to have moral qualms about the clone's treatment, especially after witnessing their fight for survival, but mostly because the doctor is a douchebag. While the two are talking, several alarms go off and all hell breaks loose. Merrick realizes that Lincoln is headed towards the holographic room and quickly rushes there himself. Similarly, Jordan has sneaked in a gun and managed to free herself. She is headed to the basement where 4 generations of Agnates are about to be incinerated. Laurent, who has now had a change of heart, joins her and they free the Agnates together. Elsewhere in the holographic room, Merrick and Lincoln are engaged in a fist fight. The doctor, being the bigger and stronger man, gains the upper hand and is about to choke Lincoln to death. But this is when our hero sees a harpoon gun nearby and manages to grab it. He then shoots a harpoon right through the doctor's skull, killing him on the spot. Go fish. In the aftermath of this event, the clones are freed and see the outside world for the first time. Laurent seemingly gives up his mercenary life, while Lincoln and Jordan sail away in one of Tom's boats toward an island.